Greetings and welcome to this week's True Sky Sidereal Astrological Weather Forecast for the week of Monday, December 2nd to Sunday, December 8th. If you're new here, I'm talking about astrology using the correct or current placements of the etheric bodies as they travel along the line of the ecliptic through our solar system, passing through the star groupings or constellations that form the archetypal energies of the zodiac. This is how astrology is meant to function. However, the system that is most popular or well known on social media, especially tropical or Western astrology, has been affixed to the spring equinoxes. So it is based off of a calendar and a clock that were introduced in order to ensnare humanity into a never ending cycle of production and consumption. And therefore, it is not actually representative of what is going on in the sky anymore, because it does not take into consideration something known as the precession of the equinoxes, wherein the line of the ecliptic, which is the path that all the etheric bodies travel along, moves 1 degree every 72 years. So since tropical astrology was introduced around 200 AD, it is quite a bit off. Now, Vedic astrology is a little bit closer because it does take into consideration that precession of the equinoxes. However, the other aspect that differentiates true sky sidereal astrology is that it takes into consideration the different sizes of the constellations, and it includes one more, the hidden 13th sign Ophiuchus, which is going to get a lot of attention in this week's forecast. So let's get into it. Okay, so this week I'm trying out a new format as I had a request to put this content on YouTube for my audience on Instagram because I couldn't put the full length TikToks on that platform. So here we are. I'm using a different star charting app because I couldn't get star chart to work on my computer and I wanted to have the same aspect ratio. And then I also had some difficulties getting my nice fancy mic to work. It's not working. So this is just the built-in mic in my kind of lower, older MacBook. So it's a work in progress, but we're doing it. So let's have a look here. Starting off with the sun, we currently have a lot of action going on in Scorpio. Now, you can't really see the constellation too well behind here as far as Scorpio is concerned. But here we go. We've got Ophiuchus in all of his glory, the 13th zodiac sign, the serpent bearer, the higher octave of Scorpio. We've got the moon right now, which moves the fastest out of all the planetary beings currently in Scorpio, as well as Mercury retrograde. I did a whole video on Mercury in Ophiuchus, which is also on YouTube as well. So you can check that out for more information. And then moving along the line of the ecliptic here into the Archer, which is Sagittarius, we currently have Venus leaving that constellation, as well as Pluto, which has been much contested online. This is how I started actually making this flash with True Sky Sidereal, was talking about how Pluto is not actually in Aquarius, it's barely in Capricorn. So you can see the sea goat here hanging out. We have Saturn still making its way through the water bearer Aquarius here. And then moving along the line of the ecliptic, even further here, this yellow dotted line is what we follow. We have Neptune in Pisces. It took me a minute to get a handle of trying to move the screen on here. So again, a work in progress, but we'll get there, folks. So Neptune is in Pisces, which is quite a big constellation. So a long period of intangibility and deep spirituality, as Neptune is right at home there. Aries, the ram, we have Uranus just outside of that. So really kind of cuspy energy as far as transforming the self, radicalizing who you are, trying something different, trying on a new personality, a new identity. Taurus, the bull here, another larger constellation with Jupiter hanging out here down in below the horizon for where I'm at right now in the Eastern Hemisphere, Northern Hemisphere, Eastern Standard Time. Gemini, the twins, not too much going on here. But as we move along, one of the big players this week is Mars in Cancer. Mars is going to be going into retrograde, which doesn't happen very often. So only every 2.5 years. And I will discuss that in more detail as we get through the weekly aspects. There's a lot going on this week, actually. There is Leo, again, not too much energy going on in Leo. And then Virgo, another really large constellation. So it takes the planetary beings quite a while to make their way through Virgo. So, and then returning along the line of the ecliptic here to the sun, currently in Scorpio, not in Sagittarius. Again, you can just kind of faintly see the scorpion behind us, trying to like get it to move around. So we have a nice shot of these two beautiful constellations as we get into this week's transits. Okay, so this week I want to start off by talking about the moon as we are, as I'm recording this on Sunday, just coming off a pretty potent new moon in Scorpio, really kind of cuspy with Ophiuchus. So this is another thing that differentiates true sky sidereal astrology from other forms of astrology, in that there's no like cut and dry lines between constellations as the stars give off an orb of energy. So there's like within a couple of degrees on either side, you're going to have a combination of both energies. And Scorpio and Ophiuchus combined is essentially death and rebirth. Okay, so the new moon that we're just moving out of, or, right now as I'm recording and going to be posting shortly thereafter, we're still in this energy of deepening our relationships, really deep healing, putting boundaries into place, personal transformation, deepening our understanding or understanding of more esoteric or hidden occult kind of topics. And then also Mercury being retrograde in Ophiuchus as well. We're kind of at the midpoint of Mercury retrograde this week. So really just rethinking a lot that has to do with personal transformation and healing and deepening our connections and relationships of all sorts. So we're like in this energy right now. And the moon is going to continue to move through. So right now it is still in Ophiuchus. It's going to be in Ophiuchus until Monday. And then Tuesday, the moon moves signs every like 2 or 3 days, depending on which constellation it's in. So Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going to be like coming out of a fog as far as our emotions, because this is what the moon rules. The moon is what's closest to us, and its energy pulls things to the surface for us to look at via our emotions. So it affects how we feel on an emotional level. So Tuesday, Wednesday, it's going to be kind of like we're coming out of a fog as the moon moves through Sagittarius, which is that like free spirited philosopher kind of energy. And then Thursday, it's going to be in Capricorn, which is the dad of the zodiac. So kind of getting our head on straight and coming up with some structure and like dealing with things in a more responsible way before it moves into Aquarius, the revolutionary free thinker, on Saturday and Sunday. Okay, so that's the moon. The moon is going to be supporting the other major aspects that are going on this week. Starting out with Venus on Monday, like Monday to Wednesday, Venus is going to be trining Uranus. Okay, so Venus is just getting into Sagittarius, which is that mutable fire. Again, the free spirited philosopher. And Venus is the planet of love and relationships, like what we love, who we love, and how we relate to other people and things and ourselves. Also, relationships of all sorts. Uranus is the planet of revolution and doing things differently, kind of shaking things up. And it is currently right in between Aries and Taurus. So Aries is the self and your personality, cardinal fire, like bossy creation energy. And Taurus is resources, like fixed earth, like very grounded and solid in the physical world. So these two energies combined, Venus trining Uranus, is going to create an atmosphere of wanting to try new things and wanting to meet new people, connecting to new things, connecting to new people, and like feeling excited about doing different things. So how curious is it that I'm just endeavoring to connect with all of you via various social media platforms and talking about a new subject and learning how to do all these new things for myself, right? I just love how this stuff plays out. So while Venus is trining Uranus and we have all this kind of exciting new connection energy, the moon, as I mentioned, will be supporting that as it is in Sagittarius. So we have kind of that double mutable fire, free-spirited philosopher kind of energy going on. Once we get into Wednesday, things get a little bit more intense or sticky as we have some major action with Saturn and Jupiter. So, Saturn and Jupiter are basically opposites when it comes to the etheric bodies. Saturn is contraction, regulation, restriction, limitation, rules. Like, it is Capricorn energy, like boss energy, like do things the right way kind of energy, slow and steady progress, structure, that kind of energy. Jupiter, on the other hand, is all about expansion and like doing things differently, and basically masculine and feminine is what we have playing out here. Okay, so starting on Wednesday, we have the Sun squaring Saturn. So the Sun, which is right in the death and rebirth portal that I described at the beginning, and I've talked about in some of the other videos as well, that combination of Scorpio and Ophiuchus with Mercury retrograde right in Ophiuchus as well. So that's where the Sun is. The Sun is in the death and rebirth portal, and it is squaring Saturn. So it is amplifying this energy of death, rebirth, personal transformation, but coming up with a structure and ways to support yourself when it comes to that. At the same time, Mercury is going to be opposing Jupiter. So essentially, Mercury retrograde in Ophiuchus, bringing up all of these wounds to be healed and things that will activate or trigger you in order for you to think differently about them, is going to be opposing Jupiter, which is the planet of expansion. It's in Taurus, right? So expansion in the physical world. So basically, what this is going to do is bring about an energy of grounding these deep spiritual lessons that are coming from the Mercury retrograde into the natural world. So this is a great time for magic in the mundane, right? Like being present in the moment and seeing how powerful your presence and awareness actually is. Okay, so these two energies combined is essentially creation, okay? It's contraction and expansion. It's the masculine and the feminine. If you're familiar with fourth way teachings, which is something I've talked a lot about in my personal practice, if you've been in my orbit for some time, or if you're not, I'm going to do a quick recap of the law of three, which is one of the foundations of creation. So in order for anything to come into being, there needs to be three opposing forces. One is the masculine doing contracting force. This is Saturn, okay? Two is the feminine receptive expansive force. This is Jupiter. And the third force that's necessary is the neutral or blank incubating force. Okay. So, in order for us to have these two energies come together to create, we need to take space. Okay. So, I mean, this is as always, but especially during this, especially spiritual deep time in the stars, taking extra time to make space for yourself would be of benefit. While this is going on, the moon is going to be in Capricorn. So, again, another double whammy of that structure and doing things right, like limitations and responsibilities kind of energy when it comes to managing your emotions. And then the sun as well is going to be moving into Ophiuchus on Friday. It's the 7th. Wait, is that Friday? The 7th. And it's going to be opposing Jupiter on Saturday as well. Okay, so the sun is then going to be in Ophiuchus, which is the wounded healers ruled by Chiron. It's the ethers. It's the pattern interrupt. Okay, it is the rebirth portal, the black hole of our universe, the womb of our universe, okay, the receptive rebirth energy. So that's where the sun is going to be, and it's going to be opposing Jupiter then on Saturday as well. So really just kind of driving home that idea of a little bit of structure, a little bit of space making, a little bit of expansion, and you can create a brand new reality for yourself. Okay, next we have on Friday, Mars going into retrograde, which, as I mentioned at the beginning when I was doing the run through, is quite rare. It only happens once every like 2.5 years or so, and is going to be affecting us until late February. So, a number of months of Mars being retrograde in Cancer. Okay, so Mars is who we are and what we want. It is the planet of assertion. It is Aries energy. It is the self. Okay. Who are you and how are you expressing yourself? How are you asserting yourself? Cancer is not a super comfortable sign for Aries. They're opposites in a lot of ways. They're cardinal fire versus cardinal water. Okay, so creation versus emotions. So, what this comes out as is Mars being the protector because Cancer is mother energy. It is cardinal emotions. It is the mother wound and taking care of things, nurturing and all of that, right? So Mars being retrograde in Cancer for a number of months is going to bring up a reflection on who we are, what we want, and how we can protect that essentially. How can we be there for ourselves? How can we stand up for ourselves? How can we take care of ourselves a little bit deeper? Or I don't want to say better because there is no better or worse, but like, how can we do that in a deeper way? And finally, finishing off the week on Saturday, we have Venus entering Capricorn. So it's leaving that free spirited energy of Sagittarius. Now, again, there is a bit of an orb, so we'll still have a bit of a hangover from the Sagittarius energy in Venus. But moving into Capricorn is going to bring about an energy of valuing the long-term view when it comes to relationships. More patience, more discipline, really valuing depth in relationships and how you can curate relationships that are here for the long haul, essentially. In the process, it is going to be moving over Pluto as well, because Pluto is still just hanging out in between Sagittarius and Capricorn. And Pluto is what we value. It is also death and rebirth. Okay, so we may have relationships ending. We may have things leaving your life. And remember, relationships are not just with people. They're also with yourself. They're with behavior patterns or with substances. Like, all sorts of relationships exist within this concept. Okay, so if anything's leaving your life, just let it go and really, put your focus on what is going to help you in the long term when it comes to all of your different relationships. And while this is going on, the moon will be in Aquarius, which is the forward thinker and doing things differently. Like Aquarius is the revolutionary. So using that energy to support the death and rebirth energy would be key. All right, so that's it. Wow, what a week. And I'm glad I started this new format because I would not have been able to fit all of that into a 10-minute TikTok. So, just to recap, we've got quite a lot going on this week, but don't let yourself get caught up in intellectualizing it too much. Essentially, the main takeaways that I want you to understand is that we're in really game-changing times. We have the opportunity to level up our reality, but it requires you to take your attention and put it inwards. It also requires you to detach yourself from the victimization and butthurtness that comes with living in the external locus of control. So this means that ultimately everything that is happening outside of you, like anything that's leaving your life, any sort of conflicts that you're having, any sort of like stickiness that you're running into at this point, is happening intentionally to illustrate for you aspects of yourself internally that still have limitations. Because remember, you are the source, you are the creator, you set the tone, you are the one that decides how you respond to everything, and everything is just a game of experience for you. So all of these, like the astrological weather that is hitting us right now, is going to either make or break you, right? So if you're aware of this, you can use these energies to level up and create your new reality. Or if you're still living in a very dualistic external locus of control, things are likely going to get chaotic and you're going to feel like it's terrible because things keep happening to you. And then because you feel like that, things are going to continue to happen to you, right? So just take your power back. I would make space for yourself this week just to meditate and breathe and ground yourself especially. And remember, the mundane is magical. Like, you don't need to live an extraordinary life with all sorts of riches and all this stuff that we've been taught to desire, which is all just materialism. You don't need any of that, right? You can have magical moments doing the dishes, doing your regular food prep, playing with your kids, even if you're working a job that you don't enjoy. Just like be present while you're doing it and remind yourself that you are the creator and ultimately you have the power to decide how you feel about everything. So if you like this and you're still here, thank you so much for receiving this transmission. Give me a like, give me a follow, give me a comment, and let me know what you enjoyed the most. Share this with somebody that you know that think could benefit from this new perspective and information. And I'll see you in the next one.